What's up guys, this is Enhander from Fear Productions, and today we're going to learn if you can install an ALG Defense QMS Trigger in the Bushmaster ACR. My particular ACR is the ACR-E variant. It's the one with the quad rail and the adjustable stock. So today, like I said, I'm going to see if we can do this. I've watched a couple videos online. It looks like the trigger pack in the lower receiver here is a standard AR-15 trigger. I don't know. So we're going to find out. I might be putting my gloves on here soon. It is pretty cold. I debated on doing this video today, but we're going to give it a shot. Temperature went from 45 degrees on my way home from work in the span of less than a mile. It went from 45 degrees to 30 degrees and it started snowing. So it is what it is. So let's get started. I'll set the ALG trigger aside here for just a second. We're going to flip the rifle over here. Going to make sure that it is empty, which it is. And we're just going to separate the upper from the lower receivers. To do that, it's just like an AR-15. We have two push pins in the same general area as an AR-15. We're going to pop those right out. And that hinges right down. That's all you got to do. The stock will retain on the upper. It's retained by an extra pin. Get it around here. Retained by an extra pin here at the top, so we don't even have to worry about that. We'll leave the stock on the upper receiver and set all of this aside, at least for now. And our central focus is going to be on this lower, which weighs almost nothing. I'm going to go ahead and push the pins back in here to just make sure they're retained. Now, I need to mention that there are two versions of the ACR that I know of. And it's easy to tell because mine's an older version of the ACR. The newer versions, well, the newer versions of the original ACR have a screw that you need to take out before you can do anything with the selector switch. But if you'll notice, there is a little lever right here. That lever you can push up and down. Well, in order to get the trigger pack out, you first have to take the selector switch off. And in order to do that, you need to push up. While doing so, you're going to turn the selector switch in the 6 o'clock position, just like that. So you have to push up on that lever on the trigger pack, like I'm doing right now, move the selector switch in the 6 o'clock position. That will retain the lever on the trigger pack in the upward position, and from there I might need to get a knife or something to nope, it should just come right out here. There we go. So we have the two sides of our safety selector switch here. I'm going to set those aside. Don't want to lose those. And if I remember correctly, the trigger pack, which is all oiled up, should just come right out. Okay, that's that. So here we have the trigger pack for the ACR. I'm going to set the lower assembly aside. I'm going to readjust the camera here and we'll be right back. Okay. Now, I know initially you guys might not be able to see very closely what's going on here, but I will zoom it in so you guys can see what I'm doing. Right now, I'm just inspecting things here. Now, this bar should, yeah, it just pops right out. And it actually retains one of the springs on, I believe, the hammer. Yeah. So, let me get the light right there. If you notice that little recess in this bar, one of the hammer springs rests in that recess, and that's what gives it the tension to move up and down when you're initially taking the selector switch out. So we're also going to set that aside for now. Other than that, yeah. Guys, it looks like we literally have a stock AR-15 Milspec hammer and trigger. That's what I'm looking at here. So, that being said, we have the two normal pins, as you would see on the lower receiver of an AR-15. Well, we obviously don't have the lower receiver of an AR-15 to be able to captivate all this stuff, so we're going to have to work around that. Let me get my punches and my mallet here. This is gonna be interesting, especially because my hands are freezing right now. So, I guess with most of the spring tension off of the hammer, let's go ahead and get the hammer out first. Okay guys, sorry about that. I wanted to pause for a second to make sure I was doing everything right. I got the punch temporarily set in here, as you can see. I just don't want everything to go flying out, so I'm gonna slowly drive that pin out. There we go. So now I have the punch is actually retaining the hammer right now. I'm gonna get my magnetic tray, and we're going to take the pin, set it in the magnetic tray, and I'm going to slowly release the hammer. All right, guys. So here we have the ACR hammer. Now, right away I can tell there's one difference between this hammer and that of a standard AR-15 hammer, and that is in the spring. If you notice, the spring has a little bend to it right here, and that's to accommodate this right here. It's going to bend in and accommodate that. So I'm guessing I'm going to have to use this spring on the ALG trigger. Now I'm not sure if that's going to affect trigger performance or not, but we'll see. So let's go ahead and I'm going to take this spring off here. It's fighting me. There. Now, as for the hammer itself, the hammer looks like a standard AR-15 hammer. So I'm going to go ahead and set that in the magnetic tray. Now for the trigger pack. Okay, so the trigger pack, or the trigger itself, fire control group, or the trigger and the disconnector, I'm sorry, it's set up just like an AR-15, but you see this crossbar? That's actually a pin that's going across this trigger pack. And the two springs that would normally be resting on the bottom of the AR lower, well, those springs are resting on that pin. So when we put the ALG trigger in, those two springs on the trigger itself are going to have to rest on that pin. So that's going to be tricky. So let's go ahead and get the trigger itself out. This one's a little easier. Yeah, this one came right out. Okay. So out we have our ACR stock trigger and of course the disconnector. And everything right there. The spring looks to be normal, so we're going to set that in the magnetic tray. as well as the pin. We're going to use the 2 pins that came with the ALG trigger and go from there. Moving on to the ALG trigger, this is actually the first trigger that has came in a box like this to give me some more data on this trigger. So that being said, I can give you guys some factory specs on this trigger. It is advertised for AR-15s and AR-10s, advertised at a 6.5 pound pull. I can guarantee you some of mine are less than that. Some of mine are probably around the 5.5 to 6 pound range. It's a single stage trigger, drop in. It is 8620 Milspec alloy steel. The hammer is corrosion resistant, or it's a corrosion resistant hammer spring with polished sears, and of course the trigger has the M4 carbine curved bow. It says the ALG Defense Quality Milspec Trigger is a high performance Milspec trigger. Pull of the QMS is very similar to a standard Milspec trigger, however the majority of the associated grittiness of the stock trigger pull has been removed. While the well-known reliability of the stock trigger remains, the pull weight is not lower than M4 M16 minimum weight, specifications of 5.5 pounds. Generally the pull weight is around 6.5, so no higher than 6.5, no lower than 5.5 is what you can expect with this trigger. So let's go ahead and get this guy installed before I lose complete feeling of my hands. Okay guys, with the QMS unpackaged, I'm going to go ahead and fiddle around and get this trigger. Whoops, there goes the disconnector. Don't do what I just did. Take that pin out slowly. I'm going to go ahead and fiddle around and get the, actually let's take that off for now, the trigger installed. What you have to do is the spring pins here, or the spring legs, they have to sit on top of that cross pin. So let's see how many tries this is going to take me. Especially with hands that I cannot, I can't feel my hands. Okay guys, that only took me about a minute. I was having just a bit of trouble until I realized the pin wasn't going in because I wasn't pushing the disconnector down enough. So once I realized that, I pushed it down and the pin went right through. So that's good, a lot easier than I thought it would be. Now on to ye old hammer. This one's going to be a trip. So let's go ahead, make sure I get this hammer spring off the way it should be. Like so. Let's put the ACR hammer on. Like so. Okay. Hammer spring is on. Let's pop the pin out. Maybe. Get my Leatherman because my hands are losing feeling. There we go. Now guys, these pins look identical to the ones that came out of the ACR, except for the extra little slot right here. So we'll see what happens. All right, so this will sit in just like normal. But being that we're not doing it in a AR lower and just this little trigger pack, we might have some trouble. I'm going to use this. Okay, so I got the punch set. Oh, all right, so I got the punch set in there. Triggers look, the springs look aligned as they should be. Now the question is, can I get the pin in? Man. Okay, that took me just a few minutes to do. So, test for function. Excellent. Excellent. Okay. Well, let's put all of our excess parts aside here. And the next step is to install the selector bar, the selector retaining bar, and that should be this. Okay, so this little notch right here, get in the light if you can see it there, will marry up to the notch right here in the trigger pack. So it fits in right there, and this should just slide down right over that trigger spring, hopefully. If not, we might have to do some finagling to get it to, there we go. Look at that. Oh, okay, well I pulled too hard on it there, but. And we have tension. All right, guys, I'll be right back, and I'm going to reinstall it in the lower and see what happens. Okay, guys, we have the trigger pack completely reassembled with the ALG QMS Trigger, and I'm going to go ahead and reinsert it here in the lower receiver of the ACR. Just like that. Let's put the hammer down. And it should just slide right down in there like that. Let's go ahead and get our safeties. Now, I wasn't paying attention when I took this apart, so I'm not exactly sure which one goes where. You want to reinstall them in the 6 o'clock position. You have to excuse me, my hands are really, really cold right now. They hurt. That one must go there. And oh, okay. There are indentations as to which goes where. Don't do what I just did and let the lever fall until you completely have the safety reinstalled. Make sure each one is in the 6 o'clock position. Perfect. It retains, so we are on safe. I'm going to put my hand over the hammer just to make sure nothing, you know, if it was installed incorrectly, safety does retain. All right, guys, and I can tell you right now, guys, that just feels amazing. All right, I'm gonna readjust the camera and we'll be right back. Okay guys, we're back now. I'm gonna go ahead and put the lower on the upper. I have the stock forward just to get everything into the shot. And just like a AR-15, we're just gonna hinge everything. Now, I take that back. This one's a little bit different in that the rear, you actually just have to slide it right up instead of hinging it in, just like that. Push the pins in, just like that. Check for function there, and we'll be right back. All right, guys, moment of truth. To be honest with you, I don't know if this is going to work or not because, one, this is a old rifle. Don't know if the trigger is meant to be in this rifle or not. I know Geisley makes a trigger for it, and there's one or two other companies that make a specific ACR trigger, but we're going to find out right now. So I'm going to take the marker, listen to me, there's more paintball talk, because I have a paintball video I need to do here soon. The firearm off safe. I'm going to do check the chamber. We are clear. So let's do a trigger check. That's much nicer. And reset. Yeah. And I'll put it back on safe. Does not fire. All right, guys, there's our answer. So the ALG Defense QMS Trigger can install on the Bushmaster ACR if you have one. I'm very excited, very happy. Like I said, you guys know that the ALG QMS Trigger is one of my favorite triggers. It's extremely affordable. There's much better triggers on the market, guys. There's no question about that. But coming in at, I think it's $49.99 for the QMS trigger, depending on where you look. Now, I always, like you guys know, I'm a big proponent of Primary Arms. They run sales on pretty much weekly of you know, a bunch of different parts. QMS is usually one of the things they put on sale, you know, when they do AR build sales and stuff like that. You can catch it for 40 bucks. That's what I picked this one up for when I got the, I think that's what I picked it up for, maybe $43.99, something like that, when I got the PRS Gen 3 for my SIG 716. Anyway, it works. ACR is almost done. I have lists for all my firearms of things that I want to install on them to get, you know, to complete them. The next thing for this guy will be a better optic. This optic is going to be going on my, you know, I have an AR that I built from a polymer lower that, you know, it's just, if someone wants an AR to use at the range and they've never used one before and they're bringing their own ammo and they want to experience one, I have one there. I don't mind if it gets beat up, so I'll bring it, and, well, I don't really mind if any of them get beat up, but, you know, it's there for them to use, to practice with, you know, this, that, and the other. This dot will be going on that rifle. The Burris MTAC from my primary AR will be going on this ACR, and a new optic will be going on my primary AR. It's probably going to be a Primary Arms 1:6 optic or a 1:8 optic, depending. I haven't decided yet. I guess it's whatever money will be, money will allow at the time. I digress. Thank you guys for watching. Be doing more videos here soon. I'm eventually going to do a video on the ACR, you know, just a solo video of this rifle, its history, why it's not in production anymore. I wish it was still in production because this is a wonderful rifle. I know it's got a story, you know, a storied history. A lot of people have had issues with theirs. I've, you know, knock on wood, not had an issue with mine yet. To my knowledge, Bushmaster still sells parts for these. That's how I was able to get this handguard and this stock. talk about that all in the video. Doing a video on my 716. I have an Arasaka video coming up. I was able to find a very nice matching Arasaka with the mums intact. That will be on my Weapons of World War II video. I did a video of the 1911. However, I didn't like how it turned out, so I'm going to scrap it and redo it. And a video of the MP40, the GSG MP40, it will be coming soon. And I also have a couple paintball videos coming up. Our first paintball game is going to be April 21st of this year. Be looking forward to a FPS video. It'll probably be me and Freeman be traded off in that video like it has been, unless one of the other guys want to use my helmet camera on a game that I set out and get them in there. But thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment, like, and subscribe to the channel. It helps us out. It helps get more views to the video. And anyone who's searching if they have a question about the ACR or if a ALG can be put in it, or even if a standard AR trigger can be put in an ACR, I'm pretty sure they can, knowing what we know now. So I appreciate everything, guys. Thank you very much. God bless and have a great day.